Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamaduchyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So continuing with what we were doing before the break. So this is up to what time? 3:15. I lost the thing you sent me.
I'll send you. Yes, 3:15.
Okay. And then break, then one more session.
Yes.
And what about Dhoni today?
5 o'clock. As soon as we finish here, we go and do the meditation.
Right. All right. Good. Okay. So to continue what we were looking at in the last session, I'm going to now look at this mantra which I chanted just now. It is from the Upanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamaduchyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vasishyate. I know lots of Purna comes in this. That's one basic difference in words also among the teachings of the Buddhists and the Vedantis. Vedantis like to call it Purna, and the Buddhists like to call it Shunya. Roughly the same thing, but different terms. Wow. Now, I like Purna because it is complete. Shunya is nothing. I'm not looking for nothing. So, Purnam Ada, it started, which means that is complete or that is full. You can say complete or you can say fullness. So when the Upanishads say that is full, it means the source of this universe, the source of everything from which it has come, is fullness, completeness. Maybe, we don't know, we can only speculate perhaps. We can't say no because we were not there when the beginning was there. But the Upanishad says that it's from that completeness and fullness this whole universe has come about. Okay. We can also say it may be so, but what has that got to do with me? Because the second part of the mantra says Purnam Idam. Not only that is complete and full, this which has come out of it is also intrinsically complete and full. Now, there we have a problem because we don't see that. We see incompleteness. We see non fullness. There is a word like that. We see imperfection. Since we are not full, we try to fill this emptiness with things. This is our life, right? The whole of life. What is happening is the organism, also the human being, is trying to become complete, fulfilled, full, because we realize that we are not fulfilled, we are not complete. So the whole of evolution is trying to fill this gap. But the Upanishad says this is also full. How could this be that the Upanishad says something is full when it is not full? So let's look at fullness and non-fullness separately and see what it means. In daily life, our experiences, we always desire to fill with something. It could be emotional fulfillment, it could be intellectual fulfillment, it could be spiritual fulfillment, It could be psychological fulfillment. Why do we do that? Because we find that we are not full, that we are empty. Not empty, but we would like to be more full. This lack of fullness and completeness is what we try to fill in always spiritual, physical, worldly life. Deep down somewhere, the organism feels, the physical organism, that if I multiply physically, God said to Adam, be fruitful and multiply. So when you multiply, then what am I doing? I know I'm going to die physically. That incompleteness is known to me. Perhaps my genes will survive in a different way. So that is also my life. So I try to fulfill it that way. Except that if it happens accidentally with no thought, is what happens. That's also a way of expanding and fulfilling, because I find that I'm not full, I'm not complete, I need to expand. In worldly pursuits, I have a job or I have this much money, always inadequate. Always. So, what do? I try to make more. I try to increase. I have a job. I want a better job. Right. I know lots of people who have a better job, who have everything, all the money, everything. They can't sleep at night. So where is the completeness? But that's what I want, because I think, well, I have one car. I think if I have two cars, I will be better off. Or if I have a better car, normal life. So what do? I save a lot of money. I work very hard, and then I buy myself uh, what should I? A Mercedes. Okay. I'm happy. You know why I'm happy? Because for the time being, my emptiness is filled. Time being. Till the day I see my neighbor driving in a Rolls Royce Culligan, then my completeness gets destroyed. I'm wanting that. Generally, I'm saying. So I work again hard, or I look at this car in the morning, I said something better. Or I look at the other guy and say, I wish he sells it to me at a lower price or something like that. That fulfillment is not over, it goes on. I'm alone, suppose. I'm a young lady or a young man. I'm all alone. It's beautiful. Life looks like it's beautiful, nice. Then I say, no, I'm not happy. I need to share it with somebody. Though I need a partner, so I get married or whatever I do. I don't know, in the modern world. And then from one I become two. Now you only have to ask them if they really completed their life. Don't ask me. Have they reached completeness? Or have I because of that? So this goes on and on. And from childhood we have been taught to be happy, gather, increase. And then you increase and you want to hold on to it. And the moment you see something and say, I'm happy, and then you're so worried that it will be taken away from you, and happiness has already started. Because you want to hold on to something which is not so easy to get, but any time it can slip away from me, unhappiness has already started. I construct a beautiful philosophical theory. And I think this theory will make me happy because I'm secure in this theory, in the belief in this theory. And then somebody is trying to break it, completeness is gone. Or I'll say, whatever other people say, it's okay. I'm sticking to this theory. So when I'm sticking to something, where is happiness when I try to stick to something? I'm afraid it will go away. I'm afraid the perfectness network intellectual that I have created, the what do you call that? Structure is collapsing. No happiness. This is the way we live, right? And somewhere the Upanishad says, Tena tyaktena bhunjita, let go and rejoice. How do we let go? We can't let go. And therefore we are not complete. We are incomplete. Although the Upanishad says, yes, you are complete. Is it possible? Purnameva vashishyate. From that completeness came this completeness, and completeness alone remains. This is what the statement is from the Upanishad. So, which means a few corollaries you can draw on this. That as far as my desires and this world is concerned, I can go on adding, subtracting, building my own theory of life. I can do all this. But in the end, it doesn't seem to satisfy me in any way. And even if I have acquired everything that I wanted, saying I don't mind what other people say, but this is my right, okay, fine, great. And then one day I go away. I build a beautiful house because I love a big house. And one day I go away while traveling. Where is my house? So why is the Upanishad saying you are complete? I am incomplete. Why is it saying Purnamidam? A Sufi teacher once went to a palace of a king, somewhere maybe in the Middle East. Okay. So the king was very happy he had come, and he said, "Oh, master, have you seen this beautiful palace which I am sitting in? How beautiful it is! It is this. Look at the chandeliers." Sufi looked and said, "Okay, but to me it seems like a caravan." He said, "What?" He said, "It's not a caravan. This is my palace." He said, "Okay. So before you, who lived here?" "Isn't my father?" "And before your father?" "His father." "And before that?" "His father." "So it still looks like a caravan to me. People seem to be coming and going, and the structure is still there. So life is a caravan. With great difficulty we make something, and then we go off, and nobody can stop that. Although there's a big race going on to lengthen your life and live forever, living 60 years is sometimes terrible. Why would one want to live forever? I don't know. Anyway, there is this race going on. So, then what does the Upanishad mean by it? What the Upanishad means is that in true reality, in essence, you're not different from that Purnata from which this whole world has come. When you discover that, no matter what you have or what you don't have, I'm not saying we should not have or we should not have or that we should have. I'm just saying whatever you have, possess or you do not possess, your mind becomes steady and remains in a feeling of total fulfillment. And the Upanishad says that is your true essence, because anything else, being temporary and dependent on outward circumstances, is not going to last. If you ask me, does the person also not die? I would say then dying becomes a process of just shifting house from one room to the other. You know why people are so concerned about death? It's not so much that, of course, there is a fear of the unknown, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is that I know that when I go, I cannot carry the things which I consider dear and which I'm fond of. This is the fear. Suppose somebody says, okay, you're dying tomorrow, but you can take everything with you. Where is the fear of death? your house, your family, your foundation. You can take everything with, there is no fear of death. You're going with everything. The fear is that I leave behind. In India, we have a religion called Sikhism. Mhm. The founder was a great person called Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak was working in Punjab and doing a lot of charitable work. And he was employed by, and in that place where he was, there was a king. There was a Nawab. So this Nawab was such a miser, he wouldn't part with a single coin to do the charitable work. So one day Guru Nanak decided to write a letter to him. So he wrote a letter to him. Along with the letter, he also put in a sewing needle. You know what's a sewing needle? Little thing. And he sent it to him. And it said, "Greetings, oh Nawab Sahib. You are going to die, and I am also going to die. It appears to me that you will die first, and I will die next. So I have sent a little sewing needle in this packet. So when you die, please take it with you. And when I die and reach there, give it to me." Now I was perplexed. How do I carry the needle and go? And he's a saint. I have to keep my word. How can I keep it and hand it over to him? So he came and told him, "Look, I can't do this. I can't carry the needle when I go." He said, "Then how will you carry all your wealth when you go? Why don't you use it for a good purpose?" He changed, of course. He was a person who decided to change. Some people would have said, "Forget your needle, I'm going to be like this." This is also possible. So, Upanishad says that when you discover the essence of your being, that the true essence of your being is none other than the origin of this universe. And by its very nature, it is Purna, complete, fulfilled. Then you understand the meaning of the mantra Purnamada Purnam Idam, which means the potential to discover your completeness is not outside, but inside. I'm trying to put it in a simple sentence. Deep down, when you have gone through the layers of your mind, you come to the center of the crux of your consciousness, the essence of your being. You have to do nothing or gather nothing to make it full. It's already full. This is the meaning of the mantra. So, all sadhanas, why does one start the spiritual pursuit, for instance? Why do we do that? Because we feel we are not happy with all that we have. Right? So we want to find something which is permanent, which we can hold on to no matter what happens to this world. Very good. I understand. This is why we do it. So this also is the fulfillment of one's spiritual practice. You may have visions or you may have no visions. All these things come and go. But if you touch the core of your being, which is complete by itself, then you're cool. You know that the fullness is in me and nobody needs to fulfill it. Now from that fullness, compassion comes. Why? I cannot have compassion. I can pretend to have compassion if I am still empty. Because I want more from others than to give anything to anybody. But when I am full, what do? It overflows. This is compassion. It's not a practice thing. You cannot practice compassion. Compassion is a state of your heart. You can't cultivate it. If I daily give, what do you call that? What do you call giving money to people who are poor? Charity. If I, well, in the present world, charity is a wonderful social move because then you can put up your plaque, donated by so and so. Not that you will take that when you die, but this is charity. Charity, compassion comes when your heart actually melts at seeing something, some suffering. And then the act is spontaneous. It's not calculated. It's like saying, can I cultivate bhakti? If you cultivate bhakti, it's not bhakti anymore. Because it's a cultivated thing. Bhakti is a spontaneous devotion. Bhakti is a spontaneous thing that comes from the heart. It can't be cultivated, it cannot be created. I would only say if you're lucky, it comes. No one can control it. Well, it may happen sometimes when you see, meet, or move with someone who has experienced it. Possible. Because when there is a magnet, and there's a piece of iron, the iron attracts the magnetism in the same way. While if you think you can cultivate devotion, well, you can do devotional practices. The devotion, something genuine has to well up from your heart. It is the same as compassion. And I think compassion comes only when the person requires nothing from anybody else. It's self sufficient. And then, now what do I do with this? Distribute. So, ideally, I should be standing on the street and saying, look, this is what I have studied, take it free. Not possible to do it. I probably end up in an asylum. So, this is another way of looking at that which we seek through the spiritual practices that we do. Now, what has that got to do with Kriya? Okay, now let's shift a little bit and go towards the practice. I won't practice now, tomorrow we'll do it, but we understand, we meaning some of us who have walked on this path, we understand that the first step to touching the essence of your being is to make the mind quiet and calm and tranquil. Not tranquil when you sit down 10 minutes a day, but tranquil in the process of life. Gita, Krishna describes it beautifully as sarvatra samabuddhaya. Can the mind, this you can develop. Beyond that, you cannot develop. This you can actively do. Can I keep my mind tranquil under all circumstances? It's very easy to be tranquil sitting on the stage or pretend to be tranquil and smile. Smiling has also been taught these days. It's become a part of society to smile, right? If somebody doesn't smile, say, what kind of a person? He may be a kind person, we don't know. Right? So what did I say? No, please be warned. This is what will happen if you learn Kriya, like me. I'm lost. I don't know what I was saying. But it's nice. I don't know. It's calmness. I mean, it's a tranquility which has no reason actually. Anyway, so This is understood. Now we are saying, the yogis are saying, that the reason for this non-tranquility of mind, under all circumstances, not when in one place or in one, like you can be tranquil when you walk into like a beautiful, I have felt this, when you walk into some quiet places, like a lot of trees and there's a sun just rising or setting and there's a beautiful breeze blowing, well, you find yourself nice and tranquil. All you need is then you sit on a bench and say, let me enjoy this. Then somebody comes and says, get up, I want to sit here. Tranquility is over. Is it possible to be tranquil even in those circumstances and say, okay, you sit here, I'm sitting there? It's what I'm trying to say is it's not tranquility in one place. Or I've traveled a lot in many years ago in many parts of Germany. Most of the churches are empty. In fact, some of them have been turned into supermarkets. Empty. But there are some which still exist where hardly anybody goes. You walk in there quietly. Happily, nobody goes, so it's quiet. And then you hear those old organs operated by the wind organs, and the bell somewhere ringing. It's beautiful. And this is possible. But when I come out, or when I'm inside and the person in charge, hey, get up, get out, can I still be tranquil? This is the question. Under all sarvatra samabuddhaya, that's what it means. Tranquility under all circumstances. So, yogis say that the reason for not being tranquil, the reason for not being able to control your temper, for instance, when you get irritated about nothing, when you're angry, there are some people who are angry, we don't even know why. Just angry. Nobody knows why. And maybe some people enjoy being angry, I don't know. Anyway, so the yogic theory, which we have understood through practice, is that this happens, the tranquility is not present in the human being, also because final tranquility happens only when the mind is at rest, totally. But before that, because the life energies, which we call prana, they move about in a very haphazard manner inside the human system. And through the practice of calming your breath or change. It's like home, and then you can still hear the Turiya part. Gone. Okay. So, through a certain set of yogic practices, we can bring the haphazard moment of energy in our system into some kind of an order. And when this order is created, automatically the mind, first we have to decide that I want to calm myself, okay? If I want to remain as I am, there is no cure for it. And also there is no cure for two things in this world. One is jealousy. I don't think any pranayam is going to. Jealousy is a very strange thing, It's nothing to do with me. Somebody is happy and I'm very unhappy about it. There's another one which I dare not say, and that is baldness. So don't trust all the medicines that are advertised on the internet. It will never come back. Okay? No harm, actually, easy to maintain. So, um, so according to the yogic anatomy and physiology, which is little different from Gray's anatomy, little bit. So, according to yogic anatomy and physiology, while there are hundreds of these channels inside the system called nadis, Sanskrit, there are a few which are most important to us, and they are connected to the breath. They're also connected. Now it is an accepted fact that the brain has two parts. I mean, everybody knew it has two parts, but that one part is the practical brain, and the other part is the intuitive brain. This is the intuitive brain, and this is the practical brain. Both work together generally. In some, this may be working more, and some, this may be working more. So, if you look at the yogic figure of the nadis, you won't find any mention of the other 100 nadis which are in the system, but you will find 3 nadis which are mentioned. One is the left nadi, which is called the Ida nadi, and the other is the right nadi called the, what happened, paining? The right nadi called the Pingala, the left and the right nadi. And then you will see the central one, which is called the Shushumna. Where do they come? If you compare it with Gray's anatomy, the Ida nadi, the channel on the left, is similar or almost the same as the left ganglionic chain, which is the autonomic nervous system, and the right is the Pingala, which is again part of the autonomous nervous system, including the vagus nerve, which controls your lungs, your heart, and so on, important functions. But they're autonomous. You don't control them. They happen by themselves. You will also find there is a central nadi, which is the nadi that starts from the bottom of the spine and goes to the top of the head. This is the central nervous system. And they are both linked together through small nerves coming out from the spine and forming plexuses in the front. This is the system. The plexuses come exactly or almost where the yogi says the chakras exist. And for us, the most important nadi is indeed the central nadi, which is the Shushumna nadi. This is our most important. So when the prana can be brought through certain practices from the left and the right to the central nadi and made to ascend the central nadi, then the mind first becomes tranquil. Well, there is a period of churning also. After that, it becomes tranquil and goes deeper and deeper and deeper until it touches something which is your true self, the true core of your consciousness. And it is always accompanied by blissful, calming, and tranquil feelings. And one who experiences the bliss in all its completeness doesn't need anything else from the world, so becomes extremely tranquil. Well, he may defend himself if you attack him, but physically, but not mind. So, this is the process of yoga. Now, if you want to know, if you think that if this has any correlation to ordinary life, what to do, I must tell you about somebody who had a stroke, a brain stroke. There was this, he was a neurobiologist in the United States called Jill Bolz. Jill Bolz had a stroke. And after the stroke, she wrote a beautiful book called My Stroke of Insight. So what happened to her was that the blood vessels in the left side of her brain burst. There was a hemorrhage. And therefore the left side of her brain and the channel, the whatever flows from there, was completely paralyzed. Now, if you remember that the left side is the mathematical side of the brain, which calculates, says you should do this, you shouldn't do that, is that part of the brain which measures where you sit. It's the left side of the brain that decides that if M is sitting here, this is the area he occupies. And it's also the one who looks at the time and says it's time. The brain that is practical is the left one, because both work together. So now what happened in the case of Jill was that got completely paralyzed, and therefore all her calculating brain was gone. Now what remained is the intuitive brain, the right side of the brain. So Jill Bolz, sitting in her room, she had already managed to telephone the emergency before she became helpless. Sitting in the drawing room of her house, looking out of the window, waiting for the ambulance to come, she experienced something very strange. She was no longer confined to this little measuring part of her body. When the bird sang, she sang. I mean, it appeared to her as if it was not the bird, but she was singing. When the wind and the breeze hit the trees and the sweat, she was swaying. The whole world around her became part of her because there was nothing that decided her limits, physical limits. Well, it happened like an accident, and it happened for a short while, and then she was gone, and they took her in. When she came back, she found out that what she experienced was very much like a very Vedantic experience, where they say when you touch the center, you're not just here, but you're all pervading consciousness. She lost it, of course, when she came back, but the memory of it remained. And she wrote this book called My Stroke of Insight, available on Amazon. Get it and read it when you go. Interesting book. Because many people ask for scientific proof. That's why I'm saying. I think this is a little bit of a scientific proof. The ultimate essence cannot be put in a test tube anyway. So, which doesn't mean that through Kriya Yoga, you're going to hemorrhage your left side. What we mean is there are ways and means by which the right side and the left side can be made to work when necessary, and then both can be stopped, and only the central nervous system can work. This practice is part of Kriya Yoga. In this, there is no theory involved. It's something which you need to do and find out for yourself. One need not speculate, but one has to practice regularly and move forward. It's a very organic and practical process, but first you need to get this theory straight to know where you're going. Now it is the experience of those for whom the prana has flowed through the central channel, which in yogic terms is called the Sushumna. That myriads of worlds open up before your mind. You go from the ordinary to the extraordinary, and then finally rest in the core of your consciousness, which Vedanta has defined as Satchidananda. When you say Satchidananda, it means Sat, meaning the reality. Sat is that which always is, as opposed to things which are here today and gone tomorrow. Therefore, the ancient prayer, Asato Ma Sadgamaya, take me from the unreal to the real, or may I go from the unreal to the real. And Chit, meaning that your ultimate essence of your being is not a dead matter but consciousness, Chit. And Ananda means by its very own, it is a blissful nature. It's intrinsically blissful. It doesn't need anything else to become blissful. In fact, the yogis say any little happiness that you enjoy in this world is a small manifestation of that inner happiness. What you're looking at is the core. And therefore, what we look for in the outside world, in all our work and theories and speculations and philosophies, is to find some kind of lasting happiness. The direction is outside. We think it can be done through something you can catch from outside. The yogi says inside, turn your direction and look, it's within you. Now, that treasure, nobody can break in and steal. And you already become peaceful and therefore you spread peace. Let me start with this because it's connected to what we did in the morning session. Question is, in the story of the blade of grass from the Upanishads, when Parvati explains about that ultimate source of energy, why did Indra understand it first, but not Agni and Vayu, fire and wind? In short, what should I or we understand from this story? The message of the story is very simple. All the wonderful things that we have, all things bright and beautiful, all things great and small, they don't belong to us, they belong to the divine. This is the crux of the story. And therefore, anybody who thinks that everything belongs to me cannot see this divinity which is behind the whole operation. This is the crux of that story. In school we were taught to sing in the morning, all things bright and beautiful, all things great and small, Lord God made them all, and so on. And the problem is that we think that everything is for us and we go to the extent of abusing it. There's a beautiful story. It's not a story. In the United States, there is a state called Seattle. Once upon a time, the native Indians lived in Seattle, like in many other parts. And there was a chief whose name was Seattle. So this part of the country is named after him, after Chief Seattle. And when the conquerors of the land wanted to acquire the grazing lands of the natives from Chief Seattle's area, the Governor General wrote to him saying, how much money would you require for you to sell this to us? What is the cost of this land? We want to buy it from you, the grazing land. And the chief replied, it's a beautiful letter. He said, this land does not belong to me or belong to you, so I cannot sell it to you. It belongs, he said, to the great extreme. You don't know what it means. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to you. How can I sell it to you? It's there for the cattle to graze and so on and so forth. So of course you know what happened. They took it by force. You don't sell it, I take it. So this is part of the message of that story. that everything belongs. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say that God laughs loudly two times. One is when two brothers go on to the land, is pain in the knee, go on to the land, you want to take a quick walk. So, what did I say? I forgot about that. Two brothers go to a piece of land with measuring, tapes. And say, this land belongs to you, and this land belongs to me. So God laughs because whose land is this anyway? Another, when the doctor goes to a dying person and says, I will surely save you. Nice to hear, of course, but. So, this is the message of the story. The second question you asked, why Indra was the first one uh, to understand it. Now, as I said in the story when I related it to you, Indra is the Lord, supposed to be the Lord of all the senses. We live by our five senses. They are called Indriyas, the senses. Therefore, he is called Indra. And the Indriyas, the five senses, are, you know what? Eyes, ears, smell, taste, sparsha, and touch. These are the five instruments. And Indra is the lord of these senses. It is using these senses that we can understand this truth. Having understood this truth, you don't give any importance to it anymore, to the senses. So without the senses, look, if I didn't have eyes to see, I cannot read Indra. If I don't have ears, I cannot hear, even if it is Shruti. This is Indra. If I don't have taste, I cannot taste anything. So the understanding of the human being starts with the five senses. Therefore, Indra, being the lord of the senses, was the first person who discovered what it was. The fact is, it cannot be discovered by the senses, but it's only the senses that can lead you to the understanding that it cannot be discovered by the senses. Nothing else can. Neither the wind nor Agni can do that. So, the idea is that the most intelligent person very soon discovers the limitations of the intellect. It can happen only when the mind is really, because nobody says you should put your brain in cold storage. No. This is not what we are teaching. This is not, nobody taught this. Actually, it's like every morning you're asked to chant the Gayatri, right? I mean, in the early days, people chanted the Gayatri. If they didn't appreciate intelligence, nobody would chant the Gayatri. You know why? Because the meaning of the final sentence, last sentence of the Gayatri is Diyo Yona Prachodaya. May my intelligence be stimulated. So intelligence need to be stimulated. Don't have to put it under the rug. But the person who is really, really intelligent, and it's not a big deal. When I say intelligent, it doesn't mean one who has read so much or one who has filled his head with unnecessary stuff. This is not what I mean. Intelligent. A person who is intelligent and sensitive very soon realizes the limitations of the intellect. If the intellect cannot go beyond this point, the ordinary mind cannot go. This can be understood only when one is intelligent. Otherwise, one cannot understand this. So the Gayatri says, stimulate my intelligence. It's not about gathering things or knowledge. See, I don't want to get into this now, but at some point, we need to discuss this thing called knowledge, because of which we think we know. when you see the limitations of gathering, well, it may be useful in your day-to-day life. I agree with that. But in this movement towards the core of your consciousness, all those things have to fall off before you can move forward. And you can discover that quite logically with your intelligence, that this need to happen. That's why in some cases people, okay, we have only 3 minutes now. So we'll come back and I'll try to explain what I'm trying to say a little more. आपने कोई असिस्टेंट को लेके आए क्या इस बार? So we meet and we come back.